15. 9 plus 3 equals not 13.
12.
12, 12, 12. 5. Nope. Okay, this is what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna just say it.
I thought human like grown-ups can't know.
Thank you. All right, 5 plus 8.
13. 13.
Thank you, Avaya. 5 plus 8 is 13. 13. Next one. 5 plus 7 equals, count it out if you're not sure. 12. 3 plus 6 equals, now that one you should know. Thank you. 9, 9, 9. 4 plus 6 equals
10.
2 plus 4 equals 6.
4 plus 7 equals 11.
11.
2 plus 7 equals 9. 6.
7.
7 plus 6 equals 13.
7 plus
3 equals 10.
8 plus
2 equals 10.
9 plus 7 equals, count it if you're not sure. Thank you, Carson. 16, 16, 16.
9 plus 5 equals
14, 14. 8 plus 4 equals 12, 12. Good. 7 plus 4 equals
11.
9 plus 4 equals 7 plus 9 equals 16, 16. 6 plus 3 equals 9. 2 plus 5 equals
7.
8 plus 3 equals
11.
6 plus 9 equals
15.
8 plus 5 equals, count again. Not 14.
13.
Thank you. 3 plus 8 equals 6 plus 7 equals
13.
8 plus 7 equals 15, 15. 3 plus 4 equals 7, 7, 7. 2 plus 10 equals 12. 5 plus 6 equals
11.
4 plus 8 equals, okay, 12, 12, 12. 9 plus 2 equals, good, so that was 4 minutes.
4 minutes. That's not that long.
So tomorrow we'll do it again and we'll see if we'll finish in less time tomorrow. 4 minutes. Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and do a couple of things on the board.
Yeah, we need to study our facts.
Okay.
Because my head hurts. Oh yeah, my head does hurt.
All right, so I have a counting by tens with the number 7 pattern up here. So I have 7, 17. Where would I go from 7, 17? Where would I go from here?
27.
27.
37.
37. 7, 17, 27, 37. Dennis?
47.
47.
56.
57 and
67.
good. So 7, 17, 27, 37, 47, 57, 67. Good.
77.
Okay, counting by twos. So remember we said 2, 4, 6, 8, 0. So I have 12, 14, 16. Where am I going from there? Dennis? 12, 14, 16, 18. Going into the 10 of the 12, 14, 16, 18. 20. Okay, after 20, pattern starts over.
22.
22.
23.
20,
24.
24.
Oh, I know this one.
26. Good. Counting by twos. And let's count by 10. So I have 30, 40,
50.
50, 30, 40, 50, 60,
70.
70. Yeah, go ahead. 80.
80. Hello. 80, 90.
Throw that away. 90 and
100.
100. Good. Counting by 10. So there's just some number patterns counting. Let's go ahead and practice counting by 5s to 100. So let's start with 5. 5, 10,
15, 20,
25, 35,
40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 105,
100. Awesome.
100.
Good. All right, and let's look at my shapes here. So let's look at my first shape, which is a what?
Square.
Square. How many sides does the square have? 4 sides. Remember, a side is a line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sides, and how many angles?
4.
4. Remember, an angle is a corner. 4 angles. So a square has 4 sides, 4 angles. Let's look at the triangle. How many sides in a triangle? 3. 3 sides. 1, 2, 3. How many angles?
3.
3 corners. 1, 2, 3. Triangle has 3 sides, 3 angles.
And the next
And the circle, how many sides?
0.
0. Remember, it has none. So 0 sides
And 0
and
0
angles. Awesome.
I feel bad for the circle.
So let's review our even and odd numbers. So even numbers are 0, 2,
1, 8. Odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9.
Awesome. So whenever I have a double digit number, like 2 digits, meaning 2 numbers, how do I know how do I figure out if the number is even or odd? What am I going to pay attention to determine if the number is even or odd? I pay attention to only the back number. So in 68, when looking at that 8, is 68 even or odd? Even or odd? Okay, it's 68. It's even, yes. We can split. Even means we can split it in half equally. Odd means we cannot. 71, looking at the 1, will 71 be even or odd? Even or odd?
Odd.
It's an odd number because 1 is odd. Therefore, we cannot split it. All right, if you have a loose leaf paper, you can draw this out for me. Let's see who can give me the amount. We have 6 dimes, 4 nickels, and 7 pennies. I wish I would have a loose leaf paper ready.
Look, I got a loose paper right here.
So I have 6 dimes. Your dimes are worth 10. 4 nickels. Your nickels are worth 5. And 7 pennies. Your pennies are worth 1.
All right. So you say, draw. I'm drawing this. Draw. This is a circle. No. Don't tell me to do this. 6, So we have to work it out.
Yeah, draw it out and get the answer.
All right. Real 6, 1, 1, 2, 3. I can't. Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say, please, come on.
Oh,
How you gonna remember from yesterday? You read it yesterday. First grade even knows what they have to read.
I know only this one. I only know this one. Go and stop. So 6 signs. Wait, I can't hear. 4 nickels. Thank you. 4 nickels. 4 nickels. And how much? Let's go. 7 pennies. And 3, 7. All right, I'm coming. In your hand. I'm trying to. I'm trying to count. Count in your mind. And I can't hear what you're
Okay,
whispering.
guys, can you please count in your mind so that everyone cannot, so people are not getting confused.
I'm done, Miss Fusion.
Okay.
That's the only one I remember. I know all my pages.
Well, some people.
I'm whispering.
Do y'all want to go sit outside? All right, so let's see some answers. Let's see what we have. Okay, let's see, Kelly, what you have?
87.
So she says 87. Anyone has anything different from 87? You have a different answer, Dennis, than 87?
I only have 87. I got 87.
Okay, so 87, that's everybody's agreeing with 87. So let's see, we have 60, then 65, 70, 75, 80, and then 7 pennies. Yes, 87.
Yay!
87 cents.
Yeah.
Good, awesome. Okay.
All
right, good job. So that's just practicing a couple of things in math, just a little review of some numbers, counting facts, shapes, odd and even numbers. Okay. All right, so go ahead and get out your story from yesterday. We're gonna go ahead and add to our story. Remember, I said to keep track of it, not to lose it, because we will be using it again today.
Who am I? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
About me. Who am I? No, I'm reading who am I. Oh. Right there, that's what
Who
my name is. Hello, my name is. I am years old. My birthday is blank blank. I am in 2nd grade at PCA. I am in 1st grade at PCA. Hold on, Miss Fulgence.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What did you say?
It stops at 8th grade. Stops at 8th grade. Hold up. School stops at 8th grade. Girl, we already know.
All right.
I'm a
Could y'all like stop doing that?
I'm 7 years old. No, I'm gonna be 7. I'm 7 years old for today. It's a long time. No, I'm 7. So I get to be 7 years old today.
All right.
But yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started to move on to the next part of our story. All right, so we have our intro part done. We have what our name is, how old we are, our birthday, and what grade we are in. That was the first part of your story. So if you need help with that, you can go over the video from yesterday because we're moving on to the next part today. Okay, so now that we've given our introduction to the basics about us, now we can go into the next part, which we will just give a little bit more information about us. And we will go into like some things that we personally like, okay? So if we are telling someone about us, we gave them the basics of who we are, how old we are, when is our birthday, what grade we're in. Now we want to tell people a couple of things just so that, you know, in case they want to know a little bit more about us, right? So we can go into what's called some of our favorites, right? Some things that we like, some of our favorite things. So if you are trying to give someone information about you and you're telling them some of your favorites, what are some of the things you would tell them are your favorites? Favorites means things that you like, personally that you like.
I like ice cream.
You could tell them your favorite snack, right?
I know.
You could tell them what's your favorite snack. What else?
My favorite teacher.
Okay, if you have a favorite. Okay, well let's kind of, that is true. But like basic things about you that's favorites, like some of the things that you like
I like ice. I
like your favorite thing to do, right? Something that you like to do. I like to play basketball. I like to play soccer. I like to play my game. So I'm not asking you what your thing to do is, you know, but you would tell that is something you would tell someone. My favorite thing to do is, or you would call it it's called a hobby, like something that you like to do in your own free time. It's called a hobby. Like I like to skate in my own personal time. That's something that I like to do. So yes, everybody has a thing that they like to do. So some people have different things. So you would tell someone your favorite thing to do. You could tell them your favorite color. You could tell them your favorite food, right? Your favorite subject in school. A subject is like Bible, math, writing. You would tell them those. We're not writing yet, guys. We're not writing yet. Please don't write yet. I'm not finished with this part. Okay, so you could tell them your favorite thing to do, your favorite color, your favorite food, your favorite subject, right? You could tell them your favorite, what else could we tell them? Favorite game you like to play.
favorite.
What else? Favorite game.
Favorite dog.
Let's say favorite movie.
Oh yeah, movie.
Right, your favorite movie you like to watch.
Your favorite puzzle.
That would be like a thing to do. Like my favorite thing to do are puzzles. Like that would be like that. Okay. You can say your favorite sport if you like sports.
My favorite house.
Your favorite song. You have a favorite song. Your favorite animal.
My favorite book.
Yeah.
And
okay. Hold on. Okay, so these are some examples of favorites. Your favorite things to do, your favorite color, your favorite food, your favorite subject, your favorite game, favorite movie, favorite sport, favorite song, favorite animal, favorite place you like to visit, right? Favorite restaurant.
Favorite gas station.
Let's just stick to restaurant. So favorite place or like your favorite restaurant. Okay, so these are all examples of favorites. And if you think of some others, that's fine. So what we're going to do for the second part of our sentence is we're going to pick 5 favorite things that we want to tell someone about us. Okay. Only 5. We're not doing all of them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 13 things. We're not doing all 13. You only have to pick 5. So you're going to pick which 5 you want to tell someone are your favorites. Now, this is where you have to make sure to pay close attention to. Every time you give someone a favorite thing, your sentence will start with my favorite, and then whatever it is you pick. So if you would say my favorite restaurant, you would say is, and then you put whatever the name of the restaurant is. And that's a period because that's a sentence. So after you give them your first favorite thing, you write that, finish. Then you go to the next one. You could say my favorite color is such and such. Put your period. Then you would say my favorite subject, whatever you're picking. You have the 5 things that you're picking. But each time you're giving a favorite, you have to write it as a sentence, okay? You can't just say blue, math, the store. That's not a sentence. You're not telling anyone anything. You're just listing words. We are now taking these things that are our favorites and we are putting them into a sentence. So like I just gave you the example of restaurant. You don't have to do restaurant if you don't want to, but if you're picking that one, this is how you would write it completely. My favorite restaurant is, then you give your restaurant. Every single thing that you pick, you have to start it off with my favorite. And whatever it is that you're talking about, okay? So you have to do 5 of them. So how many sentences would that be? 5 different sentences that tell about 5 of the favorite things that you like, okay? So let's go ahead and start with your first one. So does everyone know the 5 that they're gonna pick? Yes. Okay, only 5, guys. I don't need more than 5. I only want 5, okay? I don't need more than 5. Yes. So you're going to pick whichever 5 things you want to tell someone are your favorites, and you're going to use them in a sentence. You're going to write them in sentence form to tell them about your favorite things, okay? So let's start with your first note. Where's the story from yesterday? So yes, you're going to start with your first one. So go ahead. What's your first one you're picking? All right? Is it about this? Yes. But hold on. Okay, so start with your first sentence and let me see. What's your first thing, Faith, you're picking? My favorite color. Okay, so start with that and let me see it. What's yours? Sport. Okay, start with that. Okay, what's yours, Kinley? Food. Okay, and Taylor, what you're picking first? Game. All right, so start with your first sentence and let me see. All right, so online, what is going to be your first favorite that you're picking? You have all these options. What's your first one? It's a question, so I'm waiting on an answer. Okay. So Dennis, what's your first one?
Game.
Game. Okay. Just Joshua, what's your first one? Your favorite what?
My favorite movie.
Movie. Okay. So you can write your first sentence and let me see it just so that I can keep track of what you're doing. Avaya, what's your first one?
I know to spell. I know to things.
I'm sorry. Your favorite what?
My favorite restaurant.
Okay, good. So go ahead and write your first one. Let me see before you go to your second one. Okay. So do your first one and then show it to me before you move on to your next favorite. All right. So go ahead and do that now.
She's not talking, even though she's talking.
All right. So go ahead and get out your science. Let's go to page. We'll finish our science this week. Actually, page 120.
How you know? How you know?
know what you mean.
Wait, I
All right, so let's go ahead and go into our lesson. So remember, we've been learning about the seasons. So we've already covered winter, spring, and summer. So in winter, remember, that's our season where we usually find cold weather. A lot of the plants will die. But the seeds are actually resting because when the next season comes, which is spring, the snow will melt, everything starts to get warmer, the days get longer, we have more sunlight, more rain as well, but that's because all those seeds that fell on the ground and those buds that were resting on the trees, they start to come out, they start to grow back. Also, baby animals are born during this time and they're growing. And then from spring, we go into summer where it's a lot hotter in the summer. Fruits and vegetables grow in the summer. And now we're going into our next season, which starts in September. This season is fall, or autumn is another name for this season. And so autumn or fall is in September, October, and November. Those are the 3 months of fall: September, October, November. Okay, so let's talk about the fall, page 120 and 121. So in the fall, the days get cooler and shorter. So in the winter, in the spring and summer, the days are longer. So we have more sunlight and less night. But whenever fall comes, we'll start to have less sunlight and more nighttime. Well, it's not that, but it's also getting ready for winter as well. So because of this, when there's less sunlight inside of flowers, there's something called chlorophyll, which you'll learn about in 2nd grade. And chlorophyll is what makes the leaves turn green. That chlorophyll inside of the plant is what turns it green. But because in the fall we'll start to have less sunlight, chlorophyll needs sunlight, and because there will be less sunlight, the chlorophyll is unable to fill up the plant. So because the chlorophyll is unable to fill up the plant, the leaves will start to change colors. And that's why when fall time comes, leaves will change colors. We'll see the yellow, we'll see the orange, we'll see the purple, we will see the red colors, because there's no more chlorophyll inside of, there's no more chlorophyll inside of the plant. And so because there's no more chlorophyll inside of the plant, they start to change colors. So in the fall, we do see the leaves changing colors, but that's why, because that chlorophyll is no longer able to, go inside of the plant like it did before. So because of this, the leaves are actually dying, right? So they're changing colors and it's beautiful, but they're actually dying. And when they die, guess what they do? They start to fall off of the trees. And that's why this season is called fall, because the leaves are falling off of the trees. Yep. So the leaves will fall and they drop to the ground. Yes. Did you not go?
Can I get the ball?
Yeah, that's fine. If it's windy, no. But if it's not, then yes. So the leaves will drop to the ground and they make a blanket on the ground, right? For the winter, because remember, those seeds are falling on the ground. Then the leaves fall on top of those seeds. And then when the winter comes, the snow will cover that. But I told you those seeds are resting in the ground. And when spring comes, all of that clears out, but those seeds are still there and the seeds will start to grow. So it's like they kind of keep the leaves safe. And so the leaves will decay and they decay, which means they die in the fall. But this is good because this is good for the spring plants. It's like food, and that's why the things start to grow back in the spring. So you see, God has it all working a certain way, you know, so that's why the leaves start to fall. That's why they're changing colors, and that's why it all ends up the way it is. This is all a part of God's plan. So fall is a busy time of year. Not only are the leaves changing colors and falling off of the ground, and the leaves are making like a blanket on the ground for the seeds to rest in the ground, but then we'll see a lot of the animals start to gather a lot of fruits and seeds, like birds, squirrels. A lot of them start to bury their food and save food because winter's coming, and they know this. And in the winter, nothing's growing, so it will be hard to find food in the winter. So what they're doing during the fall is finding food, burying their food, so that when the winter comes, I'm sorry, not the winter, when the spring comes, when the winter comes, they'll have food. But this is also good because sometimes they'll leave some nuts and berries in the ground, and when spring comes, they'll grow back. So they are preparing for the winter, and no one has to teach the animals this. They just know how to do it. The Lord just gave them the ability to know how to, their instinct tells them, okay, fall is here, start burying your seeds, start burying your berries and nuts, so that you can have food in the winter. And so it's amazing to see animals do it. Some birds will migrate to the warmer places. A lot of them will go to the south because it's warmer in the south. Up north, we get a lot of cold, but in the south, it's a lot warmer. So a lot of birds will migrate, meaning they travel from one place to another place so that they'll stay warm. Okay, so blue jays, woodpeckers, squirrels, and mice, they hide their seeds in the ground so that they'll have food whenever the winter comes. And like I said, some of them will forget the seeds, but this is good because when spring comes, it just grows back. Okay, and then after fall, after September, October, November, we enter into December, and then winter starts. And if all of the animals did their job, they will be okay during the winter time, right? Because they stored their food, they have it together, and so they'll be fine when winter comes. Okay, so fall is a busy time of the year. It's a time to get ready. All the animals are preparing for the next season, which is winter. So the leaves, yes, the leaves will start to fall. That's why it's called fall. They change colors, they fall, but they make a blanket on the ground to keep the seeds in the ground until spring comes. And all the animals are gathering, burying their stuff, getting prepared, getting their food ready for the winter. Okay, so that's fall. So there are more pages in the book, but we're not testing on any of this. It just talks about what happens with the sunflower, what happens with the squirrel, and all of that, but we're just focusing on what goes on in the fall. So the fall is basically a season where they're getting ready for the next season, which is winter. And so God made it where all 4 seasons would just follow back to back one another, and they would all, go the way that they go. Okay, so that's it for our science. So guys, this will be our last week in our science books. We will be moving on to something else. You don't need a book or anything, but that's it for science. Okay, so that is it for science. We're done with our science. So 1 book down.
Wait,
Yay.
we're done with this whole book?
Mm-hmm.
We don't need it? I don't believe my
Nope.
eyes.
All right, let's go ahead and go to our social studies. We'll move on to a new continent. So last time we met, we were in Africa, where we went to Kenya. We saw Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa, Lake Victoria. You can go on a safari in Africa. And we also went to Egypt, where we could see the pyramids, where they buried the kings with all their gold, the Great Sphinx, which was built to guard the tombs. And now we'll be on page 92, moving on to a new continent.
Israel. I'm already on
No,
there.
that's the country. We're moving on to the new continent.
Where's the new continent? Why is that a good city? Better than Hawaii.
Okay, so we've almost covered all the continents. We have a few more to go. 1 more to go, but we've covered most. So we already did North America, where we went to Canada. We went to Mexico. Then we went to South America, where we went to Peru. Then we traveled across the Atlantic and came to Europe, where we visited London, France. We went to Italy, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Norway. Then we left there. We came to Africa, where we visited Kenya. We visited Egypt. And now we are moving on to the largest continent, which is called Asia. That's the largest continent, Asia, A-S-I-A. Asia is our next continent that we're visiting. So that's where you find Russia, You'll find China there, India, which we're going to visit today. And where we're going to be right now is in Israel right here. Okay, so we are familiar with Israel, right?
Yeah.
Very familiar. We talk about Israel a lot in Bible. So that's the first country. So just like when we talked about Italy, we discussed how Rome is one of the oldest cities in the world. Well, it's the same thing with Israel. It is one of the oldest cities in the world. Oldest city, been around for a long time. When Jesus walked the earth, guess where he was? In Israel. So a lot of those cities we name, like Capernaum, Cana, a lot of those cities, Jerusalem, those cities are inside of Israel. Okay, so that's where we are here. Israel is right by Egypt, which that's why whenever they would flee, remember whenever Jesus had to leave as a baby, where did they go? To Egypt, because they were right next door to each other. When Abraham, remember when the famine hit the land, him and Sarah had to leave, they went to Egypt because Egypt is right next to Israel here.
It's like
so yes, Israel actually used to be a part of Africa, but as the maps changed over years, now it's a part of Asia, but it wasn't always like that. But anyway, so here we have Israel here. It's very small, you can't see it, but this is the area that it's in. And Israel is inside of the continent of Asia, the largest continent, Asia. Okay. So we can take a bus from Egypt to Israel where we can visit the town of Bethlehem. Now, Bethlehem is significant because that's where Jesus was born. Remember, Mary and Joseph had to leave Nazareth because they had to go to their hometown, which was Bethlehem, and that's where she gave birth to Jesus. So we can see Bethlehem, of course, the city of Bethlehem, a lot of hillsides, a lot of open land is in Bethlehem. That's where the shepherds watch their sheep. And remember, we talked about that whenever Jesus was born, remember the angels appeared to the shepherds in the field and told them the Messiah had been born. So in Bethlehem, there's a lot of open land, a lot of land where sheep will roam the land and shepherds take care of their sheep. Okay. Also, we know, of course, Israel is the promised land, right? The land that God promised to give to the Hebrews. And Moses, the people, remember, they left Egypt to go to the promised land. This is that land, Israel. Okay. And remember, Israel is named after Jacob. Remember, after he wrestled with God, he changed his name to Israel. And this is the land. So all of that we're learning in the Bible, this is the place. And it's still in existence today. It's a real place. Okay, so Jesus walked on water on the Sea of Galilee. That's actually our Bible lesson tomorrow, when he walked on water. Yes, so the Sea of Galilee that we talked about today, right? When we said he was preaching to the people of 5,000, that's in Israel. So that is a real sea. And Jesus, not only did he preach near the Sea of Galilee often, but he walked on that sea. And that's, like I said, tomorrow we'll talk about that in Bible. Also, when the disciples would go and fish, guess where they were fishing? The Sea of Galilee. So yes, this is a real place.
Can you take us there for the field trip? That's a long way.
Okay, so there's another popular sea in Israel, and this sea is really, really cool, and it's called the Dead Sea. And they call it the Dead Sea, and it's really beautiful, but it's called the Dead Sea because nothing can live inside of the sea. There's no fish, nothing lives inside of it, nothing at all. And that's because the Dead Sea is very, very salty. A lot of salt is inside of the sea. Too much salt to the point where nothing can live inside of it because it's so much salt. So because there's mostly salt inside of this sea, no animals live in the sea. But a cool thing is if you go and swim in the sea, you can float easily inside of it. Like you don't really have to do much of anything because there's so much salt is the science behind it. If you lay in the sea, you'll simply float. So it's a very easy sea to float in because it's very salty. And so a lot of people, when they visit Israel, they'll go in the Dead Sea just so that they can see how much they can float.
Sharks, they can relax.
No, there's nothing can live inside of the sea. No animals, like no fish, sharks, whales. Yes, so it's just water.
Yes. Still have waves.
Yeah, I'm sure it may. So yeah, so you can go in the sea and you'll just relax inside of the sea and you can just simply float because of how salty the sea is. You can just float inside of the sea. Okay, so Sea of Galilee, the Dead Sea, Bethlehem, that's one city we can visit.
Jerusalem.
Okay, so next we have Jerusalem, which is the capital city of Israel. That's why whenever I told you when the wise men were looking for the new king, they went to Jerusalem because they thought that's where the king would be, because Jerusalem is the capital city. So Jerusalem is one of the most important cities in Israel. It is one of the oldest cities in the world. The shepherd boy David, when he was king over Jerusalem, right? And when Jesus was crucified, he was crucified outside the city of Jerusalem on Calvary's Hill. So, but 3 days later, we know he rose from the dead. So Jerusalem is also called the city of gold because of the sunlight reflecting off of the buildings at sunset. I'm sorry. So when the sun is setting, how the sun shines on the buildings, they call Jerusalem the city of gold. Jerusalem is also a city of gates. It has a lot of gates. That's old Bibles and stuff like that. But Jerusalem is the capital city in Israel and also one of the oldest cities in the world. So when we say Rome, Jerusalem was around at that same time. And so that's pictures of it here on page 93 there. So when you visit Jerusalem, you can see the old buildings and walls that have been there since Bible days. So there are structures, there are buildings, there are things that are still in existence from when Jesus walked the earth. And if you visit Israel, you can actually see a lot of the landmarks where whenever he sat on the mount and spoke to the people and gave the Beatitudes, which we're learning in Bible, that's a place you could visit. You could walk the road that he walked when he was crucified. You could walk that same path. And so, yeah, we'll look at it just tomorrow. So a lot of Israel has a lot of historical meaning because that's where our Lord lived when he came on earth. That's also our homeland of our people. And fortunately, they don't live there now, but that's the homeland of our people as well, Israel. And so a lot of what we talk about in the Bible took place here in the city of Israel. David killing Goliath, when we talk about Abraham, the land that God promised him, this was that land. And it is still in existence on today, still there, one of the oldest cities in the world, oldest countries in the world. Israel. No, it's still now, of course, it looks different now because it has buildings now, it has newer inventions now, newer things, but they kept a lot of the historical stuff there as well that were in existence in Bible days. Okay. And so a lot of cool things are in the city of Israel. Okay. So again, the Sea of Galilee, the Dead Sea. You can also visit Bethlehem, Jerusalem, beautiful cities that you can visit there as well. And so in Israel, the children, they go to school on Saturdays. That's something different. In Israel, they'll go to school on Saturday. We're off on Saturdays and Sundays, but they go on Saturdays. Their favorite sport is soccer, which I told you a lot of countries, that's a lot of their favorite sports. And their main meal they eat is at noontime. Our main meal is usually dinner, but their biggest meal of the day is usually at lunchtime, which is noon. Okay, so that's Israel. So we were going to go into India and China this week, guys, but I'm going to save it for next week because there's a lot of detail in India and China. So we'll just do Israel for this week. We'll just test on Israel, and next week we'll move into India and China. Okay. All right. So that is it for our social studies, visiting the city of Israel, which is in the continent of Asia. Israel is inside of Asia. Okay. So that's our next continent. And next week we'll go on to India and China, which are also inside of Asia as well.
Do we have reading today?
Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and get out our reading and then we'll be done.
Wait, we're not going to do language? We might not have.
All right, so we're on page 95, The Raven and the Swan. Page 95, The Raven and the Swan.
No, we got to. Can I read this for Oh. Why would a raven think about the swan? A raven thinking about a swan. That's why Miss Prudence say don't do that. I didn't rock my stuff. Yeah, she said don't do that. I didn't rock it.
Okay.
You just no, I didn't.
What did I just say? Okay, stop.
Go to the restroom.
Go ahead. All right. Let's go ahead. The raven and the swan. Oh, you got it? Okay. We could do it after lunchtime though.
Okay.
All right. Come on.
The raven and the swan. I know why the swan is so white, said the black get black raven. He swims in the water all the time. I will go and swim in the water, then I shall be as white as he.
Okay. Good. Next page. Anybody?
Anybody want to read? I don't got.
Okay, Avaya 96.
So the raven flew up and down, then went until he found a lake of clear, cool water. Here I will make my home, said the raven, and every day I will swim in the water. So the raven made his home by the lake, and every day he swam in the water, but he got a bad cold from being so much in the water. He very nearly lost his voice.
Okay, thank you. So the swan is what color?
What?
White, and the raven is?
Black.
So what does the raven want to do?
Be white.
He wants to be white like the swan, and he assumed that the swan was white because he did what?
Swim all day.
Swam in the water all the time. So the raven decides, well, I guess that's what I'm going to do too, right? I'm going to swim in the water every day, and then I guess eventually I will look like the swan. But that doesn't work like that, right? And he ends up getting a what? A cold, and he lost his voice because he was trying to do something that was basically impossible, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 97. Okay, Joshua.
Croc said, I shall go back to the ravens. My
Feathers
are much better looking than any swan feathers. I would not trade their color for all the world. Croc, and away he flew.
Croak.
Croak, 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 croak.
Croak, croak.
I didn't say that. I didn't mean to say that.
No, it is croak, croak, and away he flew. Okay, so the raven realizes this is not going to work out for him, right? And then he also realized that his feathers what?
Were black.
And they look better than the swan's feathers, right? And so he decides, I'm not going to trade the color, and away he flew, right? So it took him to get sick to realize that this was not for him and that he was beautiful just the way he was. And that's a lesson for us, right? We have to be content with how we are. We are beautiful just the way God made us. We should never desire to be anything or like anyone else, that we are beautiful just the way we are. Our skin, everything about us is beautiful because God made us like that. So we shouldn't go out our way to try to be different, like how the raven was trying to become the swan, right? And he's beautiful, and he realized that though. He says, you know what? I'm beautiful just the way I am. Yep, that's a word. Okay, awesome, guys. So yep, that's the story on the raven and the swan. Okay, so we're getting closer and closer to the end of our book, right? So that's it for us today, guys. We covered what we needed to cover. Okay, so I hope y'all have a good day on today. Make sure you cover your workbook pages, go over your story, the video if you need to kind of go over your story again as well. Okay, so y'all have a good day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.